Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit billhowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
It was an especially deadly 24 hours in Gaza heading into Christmas. Thanks for joining us. I'm John Carroll in for Maya Trabulsi. The Hamas-controlled health ministry says between Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, at least 250 people were killed and 500 others injured in central Gaza. The death toll has reportedly surpassed 20,000 since October 7th. And this morning, 3 Palestinian internet providers say service is fully down in Gaza. This comes as Israel's defense minister says the country is being attacked from 7 arenas.
We are in a multi-arena war. We are being attacked from 7 different sectors: Gaza, Lebanon, Syria, Judea and Samaria, Iraq, Yemen, and Iran. We have already responded and acted in 6 of these decrees, and I say here in the most explicit way, anyone who acts against us is a potential target. There is no immunity for anyone.
Meanwhile, Pope Francis used his Christmas Day message to call for a ceasefire and for peace between Israelis and Palestinians. The Israel-Hamas war is history happening in real time, which means textbooks are not current. So what is being taught about the conflict half a world away? KPBS education reporter M.G. Perez spoke with some students determined to learn the truth.
This is just a header for recent updates.
17-year-old V. Tai is co-editor of the Preuss School newspaper. She is a senior at the charter on the UC San Diego campus.
Here, Israel's genocide of Palestine.
The online newspaper has not shied away from covering the Middle East conflict since the Hamas attack against Israel in October.
They invaded 22 Israeli cities, launched thousands of rockets, kidnapped people, burned people alive, and held them hostage in Gaza.
Besides the digital articles and editorials, V says students have turned to social media to educate themselves and to get real-time information, since they are not learning about it in class, with teachers limited to using only pre-approved curriculum that's not current.
It's just confusing for us to not be able to talk more openly about these controversial topics, because how are we going to become world leaders if we don't go through these topics at this age where we're trying to constantly adapt?
Over the past couple of months, we have reached out to numerous school districts across San Diego County to find out how this is being taught in classrooms. None of them would respond to our request.
We're supposedly taught history to not repeat it.
Huda Wolde-Georges is a junior at the Dimensions Collaborative School, which also has not included war discussion in history or current events curriculum.
This is our world that we're living in, and we don't have a choice but to live in it. And so if we can try to fix our own problems or resolve the issues that we have in our world today, then the better.
V. Tai returns to school next week, ready to work on the next issue of the newspaper.
It's our job, and we have an ethics code to follow, so we just have to stay with the facts and straight news.
Well, at the end of the day, whether you're from Palestine or Israel, you're a human being. You know, when you see somebody suffering, you should care.
That's a life lesson that anyone might be open to learn. M.G. Perez, KPBS News.
Well, the dry weather will stick around here over the next few days, but we are tracking a pattern change as we head into the weekend. Now, it's not just in terms of any precipitation we're tracking because, hey, that's going to come into the picture as well, but we're also tracking a temperature cool down here as we head into the weekend. We'll have more details on that coming up.
The migrant crisis at our southern border is putting pressure on officials and resources. In Eagle Pass, Texas, hundreds of migrants are being transported to other border towns to help with processing. Then they're released into those communities. And there could be more to come as a caravan of thousands of migrants is still headed to the U.S. through Mexico. Ivan Rodriguez reports.
So far this month, a 7-day average of more than 9,600 migrant encounters were reported by federal authorities, making it among the highest amounts ever recorded.
I've spoken to these people when I've been on the river, and they're just looking for a better life. And I think that we can help them. We need more workers in the United States. And so I think there's positives that can come from immigration. We just need the infrastructure to support them.
To deal with the unprecedented migrant surge, the federal government has closed ports of entry in multiple states and reassigned personnel to transport and process migrants. Maverick County, Texas Sheriff Tom Schmerber says this surge is having an impact on the local economy and community.
I have my community here in the neighborhoods calling for it because they're afraid that people are walking, strangers walking around the area. It's a situation that the law enforcement's getting a lot of pressure.
Hundreds of migrants from the Eagle Pass area are only being transported to other border towns to help relieve pressure. 2 buses from Texas dropped off over 90 migrants in a Chicago suburb over the weekend, and they were then moved by train into the city, according to police. For many who already made the long journey to the U.S., going back isn't an option.
I'm going to be happy because I'm going to live in a free country where the rights of citizens are respected. That wasn't the case where I lived.
Ivan Rodriguez, KPBS News.
Mother Nature brought lots of closures to North County rail lines this year. Local leaders say that pushed ridership down. KPBS North County reporter Tanya Thorne says there are plans to fix that in the new year.
The 351-mile-long rail line, known as the Los San Rail Corridor, runs from San Luis Obispo through Los Angeles and south to San Diego. But landslides and cliff collapses brought major interruptions to the rail corridor along San Diego's coast this year.
The track around San Clemente was not functioning for almost 9 months. And so that means that people who wanted to take that route were on a bus bridge, which went from Irvine to Oceanside.
State Senator Catherine Blakespear is the chair of the Los San Rail Corridor Resiliency Subcommittee. She says after the rail interruptions, ridership dropped by half, from 8 million passengers a year to 4 million.
If someone's on a train trip, they don't want to get onto a bus, get off the train, get in line, get on a bus, get on the freeway, sit on a bus for an hour, get back on the train. It really cut dramatically the ridership.
Even after the rail line reopened, ridership has not recovered. And Blakespear says it's challenging to bring those numbers up again.
It's a really complicated picture, and there are 5 different owners of the track. There are 7 operators. But then there are the freight companies. So there's Union Pacific and there's BNSF, and they're also owners of the track. So when you start thinking about these different owners of the track, and then you have these different operators on top of it, everybody's interest in this is different.
Blakespear says parts of the track require immediate attention and investment to keep the rail line running uninterrupted.
We need to have strategic planning that's looking at the entire corridor. So for the state to say, this is the second busiest corridor in the nation, we want it to function better. We want it to carry more passengers, more frequently, more reliably. So how do we get there?
Figuring out how and who oversees all the different owners and operators involved is the next plan of action for the subcommittee. Tanya Thorne, KPBS News.
In 2024, more than 2 billion people will be eligible to vote in elections held in dozens of countries, including the U.S. The elections will coincide with the rise of artificial intelligence, leading to some fear for democracy itself. We get more from Simon Cullen.
2024 is shaping up to be an election year like none other.
We want to make sure that we have a big victory. That's going to be you're going to be all over the world. They're going to be watching this.
We're at an inflection point in our history where the decisions made in a short period of time we're in now are going to determine the course of this country and the world for the next 6 or 7 decades.
While the US presidential election might be the highest profile, it's not the only consequential contest taking place.
This is a hugely significant year for democracy. It depends how you count it or exactly what you classify as an election, but by some measures there are at least 40 national elections happening in 2024.
In absolute numbers, that's more than 2 billion people eligible to cast a ballot. Among those up for re-election, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is also expected to call a 2024 election. Taiwan, Indonesia and Mexico are going to the polls too, although their incumbents won't be candidates. And in Europe, hundreds of millions of voters will elect a new EU Parliament.
For many countries, the health of their democracy itself will be being put to the test.
And the results have the potential to reshape international affairs on a scale rarely seen, from international trade and climate change to the wars in Ukraine and Gaza. While the results of some elections are all but guaranteed, others will be a genuine contest, meaning a relatively small shift in voter support could affect the outcome. That amplifies the potential impact of disinformation. And experts warn that risk is made even more significant by the fact that these elections are coinciding with a boom in artificial intelligence. That brings with it the prospect of deepfake content like this.
This is an AI-generated video showing just how far technology has come in recent years.
Even Vladimir Putin, who is all but certain to be re-elected Russian president in March, appeared momentarily surprised when confronted by a computer-generated version of himself.
People should be scared because the technology is enabling the creation of fake videos that could be very persuasive with the ordinary voters. People are not going to be able to distinguish the fake videos from real ones.
Are governments ready for what's coming down the line?
Governments are not ready. There are literally no guardrails in place.
That puts more of an onus on technology companies to step in. Meta, which owns Facebook and Instagram, says it's adapting its approach to deal with the challenges posed by artificial intelligence. TikTok has announced partnerships with external fact-checkers to combat misinformation. And X, which drastically cut staff under CEO Elon Musk, increasingly relies on users to flag misleading content.
The fact that there's been such massive job cuts to content moderation teams pretty much across all the big US social media platforms is evidence of the fact that they don't really take it seriously enough. And that will have concerning effects in the 2024 elections.
A record year for elections could also prove to be an unprecedented challenge to the electoral process.
I'm Amna Nawaz. Tonight on the NewsHour, allegations that Facebook and Instagram ignored warnings that their platforms were harming young users. That's coming up at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
When it comes to allergies, many people think they're seasonal, caused by allergens like pollen in the spring or ragweed in the fall. But allergies can be triggered year-round and most likely caused by allergens indoors. Mandy Gaither has more on how to cope as colder temperatures send people inside.
Just when you thought you could breathe easier, those allergies get triggered once again.
Wintertime allergies can be related to the indoor allergens, which include dust mites, cockroach, indoor mold, and then animals, especially pets.
Allergist Lily Pean with Cleveland Clinic says to first figure out what's causing your symptoms. If you have a Christmas tree, real or artificial, that could be a trigger of which to be aware.
If it's a new tree, there might be some mold related to that. So when people bring that into their homes, that can be a problem. If you have an artificial tree, if it's been stored away, that too can have accumulation of mold and or dust mite allergies.
You can also cope with winter allergies by trying a dehumidifier, cleaning often, washing your pets, using allergy-proof covers on mattresses and pillows, and making sure you have medicine on hand. That includes oral antihistamines, nasal steroid sprays, and nasal antihistamine sprays and eye drops, many of which are available over the counter.
I think we get so busy during the wintertime and around the holidays that we forget to take our medications.
If you've tried anti-allergy medication and you're still having symptoms, it's time to see a doctor. For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
If you don't know if you're allergic to indoor allergens, Dr. Pian says a doctor can do simple tests to find out what may be triggering symptoms and identify if it is an allergy. If you thought pre-holiday travel was busy, AAA says the return trip could be one for the record books. San Diego International Airport officials say more than 700,000 people will be coming and going during the week. AAA says 7.5 million people are expected to fly nationwide, beating out the more than 7.1 million last year and the 7.3 million in 2021. But so far, officials and travelers say it's been smooth sailing.
I just like to greet the grandkids down here, and I thought it would be kind of fun to dress up for them. They love coming to the beach. They love spending time with their Nana, and we just really enjoy the heck out of them.
This Saturday, December 30th, is expected to be the busiest day at San Diego International this week. With the Christmas holiday in the rearview mirror, lots of San Diegans are looking to dispose of their trees. KPBS reporter Andrew Dyer has more on the city's Christmas tree recycling program.
Hundreds of unsold Christmas trees are already piled high at the Miramar landfill, waiting to be ground to bits and recycled into compost. Over the next month, the city of San Diego plans to recycle more than 10,000 trees from the area. For residents with green organic waste bins, the city will pick up trees curbside. But Derek Lamb, a recycling specialist with the city, says there's one condition.
The only thing is that the Christmas tree does need to be chopped in a fashion that fits it, so that the tree itself fits in the green bin.
There are also 16 drop-off locations throughout the city where anyone can drop off trees at no charge.
We do want people to recycle their Christmas trees, so we are pretty much making it available for anyone in the vicinity of those drop-off sites that they can use.
2023 marks the program's 50th year. Since 1973, the city says it's recycled more than 50,000 tons of trees. The wood chips, mulch, and compost are used in landscaping and agriculture. City residents can pick up to 2 cubic yards of compost for free at the Miramar Greenery at the landfill. All ornaments and tinsel must be removed from trees before they're recycled. The program runs through January 23rd. Drop-off site operation hours vary and can be found on the city's website at sandiego.gov. Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
Well, let's start you off with your weather headlines, what you need to know over these next few days. That dry weather is going to stick around even throughout the later half of the week, though that doesn't come without some concerns. We are still talking about some patchy coastal low clouds and fog. So, hey, you may run into some lowered visibility, some fog if you are heading out late in the day and early in the day. Though, as we head into the weekend, we are going to start to cool down, and, well, we're turning wet here across the region as we are talking about our next weather maker set to make its way through. Now tonight we are dropping down to a low of 49, a nice moonlit sky, but again, I'm not going to rule out some patchy fog here over these next few days, late at night and early in the morning. Overall, though, here across the rest of the region, Oceanside dropping down to a low of 46, Ramona 38, Borrego Springs 44, and Mount Laguna 38 as well. Where do highs go here for tomorrow? You'll see some sunshine here. San Diego, you're at 65. Oceanside, a similar story. Borrego Springs, you're at 67. And while Mount Laguna, you're in the upper 40s. We're going to take you over these next few days here, show you kind of how temperatures are going to play out. We do still have those temperatures running in the mid to upper 60s there. Slight warming there through Thursday. We'll still talk about some sun, peaks of sun at least. And then we'll talk about an increase in cloud cover here as we head into Thursday and Friday. Temperatures, though, staying in the mid to upper 60s, though they do start to cool down slightly as we are talking about rain moving into the region for the beginning of the weekend. There is going to be a shower in spots with thick cloud cover in store towards the end of the weekend as well. Further inland, well, hey, we're in the upper 60s, even pushing 70 there by Friday. Those clouds will gradually build here over the next few days, though a shower is possible as we head into the beginning of the weekend. That's where temperatures are going to take a dive with a high of 61 there Saturday, 64 on Sunday. Now for the mountains, well, we are talking about some chilly air, but we'll have some periods of sun. in the 40s, upper 40s at least through Friday, but we're dropping down to the low 40s with an afternoon shower there possible on Saturday. And that's even possible there for the deserts as well. Meanwhile, temperatures are going to be staying in the mid to upper 60s there through the beginning of the weekend, but we're dropping down to a high of just 63, but the sunshine will return by Sunday. For KPBS News, I'm meteorologist Bree Guy.
Powerball was not in the giving spirit this Christmas. There was no jackpot winner in Monday's drawing. The jackpot prize has now grown to an estimated $685 million ahead of Wednesday's drawing. Should you win, that could help buy all the gifts you didn't receive on your Christmas list, and a whole lot more, I would think. Pickleball is the fastest growing sport in America, but some people who live near pickleball courts say it's also one of the loudest. Earlier this year, KPBS reporter Scott Rodd had a look at the legal actions people are taking to resolve pickleball noise disputes.
Jay Glazal moved into her Carlsbad home about 6 years ago. She was drawn to the Seacliff gated community for its tranquility. And then 2 years ago,
they started pickleball. Oh my God. It changed my life overnight.
Pickleball. It's a game similar to tennis that's played with paddles and a hard plastic ball. The community's tennis/pickleball court is about 60 feet from Glazal's bedroom window. No one's on the court this afternoon, but she reenacts the sound for me.
I'm hearing this pop, 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 pop for hours, and it can be up to 8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
She says the noise pierces through her double-paned windows. She works from home in the evenings and tries to sleep during the day. But the popping often keeps her awake. If they're still playing by the time she starts work, Glazal has to wear noise-canceling headphones to focus. She says it's even started affecting her health.
I would get these splitting headaches, and then my blood pressure started going up, and this was the only consistent irritation in my life.
Glazal recently filed a lawsuit against the Seacliff Homeowners Association. She wants pickleball banned from the community tennis courts and is seeking $300,000 in damages. A representative for the Homeowners Association declined an interview request. This lawsuit isn't a one-off spat. As more and more players pick up paddles, clashes over pickleball noise are happening up and down California and around the country.
Our firm has handled upwards of 25 separate cases.
Nicholas Kaplan is a partner at the real estate law firm Lubin, Pham & Kaplan and represents Glazal in her lawsuit.
From Sacramento down to Chula Vista, they are all over the state. Orange County, Los Angeles County, San Francisco County, I could go on and on.
Kaplan has carved out something of a specialty handling these pickleball noise cases. Some of his clients have taken on homeowners associations, while others have challenged cities and counties that allow pickleball in public parks near homes. Kaplan says while some cases go to court, most are settled through mediation and often result in an outright ban on pickleball in a specific location.
I have nothing against the sport. People need exercise. The sport is playable by a lot of people. But what I do believe is that it shouldn't infringe on somebody else's rights.
Since many of these disputes arise when a nearby tennis court is converted into a pickleball court, many people ask, is the sound that much different between the two sports?
Yeah. Well, tennis is quite a bit different.
Lance Willis is the principal acoustical engineer at Spendarian & Willis Acoustics and Noise Control. The Tucson-based firm has handled roughly 80 pickleball noise consultations around the country since 2010, including ones tied to lawsuits. He says with tennis,
a strung racket does not radiate sound very efficiently. The tennis ball is filled with air. It's soft. It has a rubber outside, but you just don't get as much sound.
With pickleball, where rapid-fire points are exchanged at the net,
it's the popping sound that the hard ball against the paddle makes. The sound is actually radiated mostly from the paddle. That causes a great deal of distraction for people that are close to the courts.
Willis says that sound can tear neighborhoods apart.
It is kind of sad to watch in some situations because it really, I have seen it divide communities right down the middle.
At Gershwin Park in San Diego, a regular group of pickleball players are trying to find common ground with neighbors to avoid that kind of division. Bob Scheibel Marco, a retired school teacher, lives in the neighborhood and plays pickleball most mornings.
We try to be as respectful as possible and keep to our hours, the hours that we're allowed to play. Beyond that, I don't know that there's an easy solution.
Some frustrated neighbors have filed noise complaints with the city's Parks and Recreation Department, but it's nearly impossible to soundproof a court that's already been built. So, for now, the city gives priority to pickleball in the morning and then tennis later in the day. Scheibel says the long-term answer may be found in embracing the sport's exploding popularity.
As the city develops more public courts, it will lessen the impact on individual neighborhoods like this one.
He says more places to serve, slice, and dink means spreading out the noise and hopefully keeping pickleball on the playing courts and not in the court of law. Scott Rodd, KPBS News.
World Beat Cultural Center in Balboa Park has been sharing music, art, dance, and black culture since 1995. Tonight, it starts a week of events celebrating Kwanzaa. That's an annual holiday created in 1966 to help African Americans reconnect with their African cultural and historical heritage.
That's what Kwanzaa is about, gathering together, first harvest, first fruit, lighting the candles.
Each night will feature guest speakers or performers, ceremonial candlelighting, and food. Tune in tomorrow for a closer look at some of the events. And you can be sure to get the latest from KPBS News delivered to your inbox. Breaking news, arts, and our top headlines are all available as newsletters. And of course, you can find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm John Carroll. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, and air restoration, flood and remodeling services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. By viewers like you. Thank you.